Hello everyone, I'm Jesse Lee, and welcome to video number 1 of AP Computer Science A. This course has 11 videos, and each video is less than 20 minutes long. Regardless of whether you're preparing for the AP test or you just want to learn for fun, this course will be very helpful. And the contents covered include object-oriented programming, searching algorithms, sorting algorithms, recursion, inheritance, polymorphism, abstract classes, and interfaces. Now, before taking this course, you need to have completed one of my other courses called Java Fundamentals. If you haven't completed that course yet, then I would suggest going to the first video of that course, where you can see the topics covered in that course. And if there are any topics you're not familiar with, then you can watch the videos that cover those topics. But without further ado, let's get right in. So the IDE that we're going to be using is called replit.com. And if you have your own IDE, then you can use it. But if you want to use replit.com and you don't know how to use it, then watch the first few minutes of my first video of Java Fundamentals, where I'll show you how to create an account and how to create projects. All right, so the topic that we're going to be covering in this video is classes and objects. So first of all, how do you create a class? Well, in replit.com, you would click Add File right here, and then give the file a name. So it must end in .java, and it must start with a capital letter. So if we wanted to create a class with the name person, for example, then we would type person with the capital P .java. And inside the file, we would type class person, and then curly brackets. And just like that, you've created a class. Now, how do we create objects? Well, let's slow down. Before we create objects, let's make some variables inside this class, because otherwise creating an object would be pretty useless. So to create variables, well, first of all, what information can we store about a person? Well, for example, we could store their age. So we would type public, and you don't need to worry about what public means for this video. I'll go over it in the next video. And then the type of the variable, so age would just be an int, and then age, and semicolon. And you might be wondering, why don't you type like age equals 5 or equals 14? Well, the answer is because these variables are related to objects. They're not related to the class. And right now we're typing inside of the class. So we don't need to initialize them right now. We only need to initialize them when we're creating an object. All right, let's make some more variables. What could we store? Well, for example, we could store the person's height. And the height would be a double because there could be decimals. And then we could also store, let's say, their weight. All right, so now we can create objects. So in order to create an object, you need to use a constructor. So what a constructor is inside of the class, type public, and then the name of the class, and then parentheses, and then inside you want parameters. So I'll just make the parameters int a, double b, and double c. And then after it, you want curly brackets. All right, and then inside you write a line of code. I'll just say age equals A, height equals B, and weight equals C. So now we can create an object, and I'll go over what this line of code means after I create an object. So to create an object, we would first need to go to another class. So then we would type the name of the class that we want to create an object in, and then the name of the object, and a sensible name would just be the name of the person. So I'll call this person Anya. And keep in mind that the first letter doesn't have to be capitalized, but since the first letter of names are generally capitalized, I'm going to capitalize this. And then equals new, and the constructor person, and then some parameters. I'll just say 15, 1.6, 52. All right, so what this does is it passes 15 as the value for parameter A, 1.6 as the value for parameter B, and 52 for C. So now going back to our constructor, so this would set age equal to A, height equal to B, and weight equals to C. So therefore it sets age to 15, height to 1.6, and weight to 52. So this is how constructors work and how you can create an object using constructors. So we can have as many objects as we want. So let's create another one. Person, I'll call this person Bill, equals new person 7, 1.2, 30. So now we have two objects. First we have the person called Anya, whose age is 15, height is 1.6, and weight is 52. And we also have Bill, whose age is 7, height is 1.2, and weight is 30. So what if you wanted to modify one of these variables? Well, you would do first the name of the object. So suppose we wanted to modify a variable for Bill, and then dot, and then the name of the variable. So let's suppose age. All right, so this is the phrase that you would use to modify or access variables inside of classes. So let's first talk about accessing them. So if we wanted to print out the age of Bill, we would do system.out.println bill.age, and this should print out 7. So now to modify it, so suppose we wanted to increase Bill's age by 1, we would do bill.age plus plus. If we wanted to print it out again, we would do system.out.println bill.age after we modify it. So let's run this. All right, it prints out 7 and 8, which is the correct output. So now we're getting into methods inside of classes. So let's go back to the person class. So to create a method, we would type public, the return type of the method. We're just going to make it void for this method, and then the name of the method. So I'll call it birthday, and parameters, I'll just make it no parameters. All right, so now what is this method gonna do? Well, if it's somebody's birthday, then obviously their age is going to increase by 1. So therefore we could say age plus plus. So now let's go back to the main class. So we modified Bill's age by just doing bill.age plus plus. But now since we have a method inside of the person class called birthday, we could instead do bill.birthday. Then parameters, in this case there are no parameters. And then this would increase Bill's age by 1 as well. So let's run this, and it should print out 7 and 8 again. And indeed, it does. So here is another example of a method inside of a class. So suppose we wanted to calculate somebody's BMI. So we would do public, the return type. So it would be double because the BMI can have decimals. And I'll call the method BMI, and then parameters. We don't need any parameters for this. So the BMI of a person is calculated by doing the weight of the person divided by the height of the person squared, assuming that all that height is in meters and weight is in kilograms, which we did assume. All right, so to complete this method, we would do return weight divided by, and then to calculate the height of a person squared, we could just do math.pow height, and then 2. All right, and now let's call this method. So first, let's calculate the BMI for Anya. Calculate the BMI for Bill. All right, so let's run this. All right, so it prints out 20.3 and 20.8, and those are the correct answers. So here's an exercise for you. It is optional, however, I would recommend doing it, especially if you want to take the AP test, because this will help prepare you for the test. Create a class called car companies that has int variables car and motorcycles. Create the constructor and two methods, shipment and wheels. Shipment takes two parameters, new cars and new motorcycles, and updates the two variables, cars and motorcycles, accordingly. Wheels returns the number of wheels the company has. So first do this part, and then when you're done, create two objects in the main class and call both methods for each object. You can name the two objects whatever you want and make the variables whatever you want. So if you want to give this exercise a try, then pause the video here and then keep watching when you're done. Here is the solution. So first we create a new class called car companies. All right, so then inside the class we want the int variables, cars and motorcycles. All right, and then the constructor would be public car companies, then two parameters, one for each variable. Then we set each variable to the corresponding parameter. All right, and then we want the shipment method. All right, so this method is void because we don't need to return anything. We're just changing the variables. So the parameters were new cars and new motorcycles. All right, and when you receive a shipment of new cars, you just add those to how many cars you currently have, and same for the motorcycles. So we would do cars plus equals new cars and motorcycles plus equals new motorcycles. And then for the other method, wheels, you need to return an int. Need any parameters for this method. So cars have 4 wheels and motorcycles have 2 wheels. So you would just return 4 times cars plus 2 times motorcycles. All right, so now we've completed this class. So now let's go back to the main class and then create some objects. All right, so I'll just call the two companies X and Y. X, I'll just say, has 52 cars and 8 motorcycles. And then Y will have 83 cars and 21 motorcycles. All right, so now let's call the method shipment. So let's first apply it to X. So X.shipment. So let's suppose that X receives 23 new cars and 1 new motorcycle. And then Y.shipment. So let's suppose that Y receives 14 new cars and no new motorcycles. All right, so now we've called the shipment method, and now let's call the wheel method. So let's just print how many wheels each company has. All right, now let's run this. All right, so it prints out 318 and 430, which is the correct output. So I hope this video was super helpful. If it was, then subscribe, because then I will upload even more helpful educational content and you will be notified whenever it is posted. In the description, I'm going to put a link to the list of all videos of AP Computer Science A, and by clicking on that link, you can also access a spreadsheet that shows you the topics covered in each video. So that will be very helpful in case you forget anything and need to find where to review it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in video number 2.